helping people out of the country there. These folks do have security and military backgrounds and say they had to do something to help those in harm's way. Fox 17 News' Kylie Walker is live at our state capitol now with the work being done from those with boots on the ground in that area.
Yeah, Erica, it actually started as a smaller mission when a group of Tennesseans came to the Rangers saying they had family members out in Ukraine who needed help. But since then, word has gotten out and it's turned into a bigger mission. Rangers now saying they've rescued over 100 people from all over the world. Now, Bryan Seaver with the Tennessee Rangers says they had a group of their men, all military background, fly out to Ukraine 14 days before it was invaded to help with medical training and relief efforts. But once Russia made its first attack, Seaver says it turned into a rescue operation. He says the Rangers have an open source intelligence collection team here locally that they will relay information to the team out in Ukraine to safely evacuate people, with many of them fleeing to Poland.
Basically, they're looking at everything from traffic cams to chat rooms, social media. They're looking at overlay maps. They're looking at satellite imagery. They're looking at all of those things to build the big picture for our guys to act on.
The Tennessee Rangers are a volunteer charity group with 80 to 100 members, all with security backgrounds. And coming up tonight at 9, we'll have more on what these Rangers are seeing out there in Ukraine and what's next for them and those they are helping.
Nashville working to solve its trash pickup delays, which are leaving residents furious at this point. Some went weeks without getting their trash picked up. City is trying to find solutions after Red River, the private company contracted, is failing to do its job and has filed for bankruptcy. Fox 17 News' Maggie Lemire live from North Nashville tonight as the city adds emergency vendors to try to make up for those shortcomings. Maggie.
Stacy, city leaders have begun from describing this as a public nuisance to a public health concern, which is why Metro is now stepping in to hopefully solve the issue. But is it too late? Tonight we bring you the perspectives of Nashville taxpayers on what their experiences have looked like so far. Richard Engelhardt lives on Nashville's west side. He has experienced the garbage pickup delays firsthand.
2 weeks ago, they didn't pick up the trash.
Not just days, but weeks. Weeks where Engelhardt had to just deal with trash. As a taxpayer, this is frustrating.
They hadn't picked it up, and then the next week, they didn't pick it up, and finally picked up past Friday, I think. That made 2 weeks.
Metro addressed these delays brought on by Red River, the primary residential trash collection vendor for Nashville since 2004. Mayor Cooper calling it unacceptable, and other city leaders pointing to how large of an issue this has been.
Every day, hundreds or thousands of Nashvillians are calling to complain that their trash has been sitting out on the curb or in the alley.
So here's what they are doing. The city says Metro Water and Waste Management are picking up the slack, helping with routes. But did this help come too late? We emailed and called Metro Water, who says since Red River filed for bankruptcy in 2021, they are working within the constraints of that court. Those constraints leaving Nashvillians like Engelhardt hoping something like this doesn't happen again, especially since he says he just paid over $2,000 in taxes.
Easiest word I can think of or quickest is aggravating.
As a taxpayer, trusting his trash service won't be delayed yet again.
Told that school nurses make about $20,000 less per year than nurses who work in hospitals, and their pay differs from school district to school district. Freddie Curtis, director of Cannon County Schools, says he has 3 nurses for 7 schools, which is about 2,000 kids total. Curtis says his school nurse makes just over $46,000, whereas a Tennessee nurse who I spoke with who works in a hospital makes $75,000. Cannon County nurse Leslie Pelham says she had to work in a hospital before working in a school because of the significant pay gap.
I myself had interviewed and looked into the school nursing before, but just was not financially at a point to where I could make those sacrifices. And so I had to work in the hospital setting and put my overtime in and call shifts in. I did that for about 16 years before making the change to the school nurse setting.
Pelham says she switched to being a school nurse to be on the same schedule as her kids. And we reached out to the State Department of Education to see what they're doing to bridge this gap. And they said that in their proposed funding formula, they will have additional funding for these school nurses. But schools are wondering how they're going to be able to recruit these nurses given the large pay gap.